Hey guys, T-Boy. Today I got a look at the Yamato for you. I think that's how you're supposed to say it. I'll probably say Yamato just because that's how I talk. I got a quick look at the stats. This is uninfluenced by commanders. So you can see 18.2 range. I don't think there were any mods on those either. I do in slot 4 run the main battery mod, which cuts the reload by 12%, increases the turret traverse time. Uh, Slot 2, I got prop mod. I'm not going to say this is an optimized build or anything. I've only played 2 games in the ship. Here's TAKAGI. Again, that build's not tailored towards this ship. That's just how I have them set up currently. Here's the game on fault line. First game I had with this ship, it was 4v4 Yamatos on neighbors, I think. Yeah, the one that got readjusted with the spawns. That match was kind of a dud. It was just the first couple minutes, people were just sitting there staring at each other, and then I got antsy, kind of pushed forward, and I don't know. All the ships roughly did the same, so I didn't think it was that interesting of a game. But this one, this is what I was kind of hoping for. It's Yamato versus Yamato, and then the rest tier 7s, which for going into this, I didn't think that would be that interesting of a game mode, to be honest with you. I've kind of enjoyed playing against these things as regular tier 7s. You got to use a bunch of tier 7s to unlock the missions to get this. People keep asking me all day, how do you get this ship? Go to your missions, campaign and missions tab. Check it out. They'll have the requirements on there. But you grind it out. But you got to use primarily tier 7s. And then you got to grind up a bunch of credits. So if you don't have tier 7s yet, you're not going to be able to play this during this test event. But you'll play it someday, so keep at it. Anyway, that's how you get the ship. Then you get 2 free passes per day to play it. And then if you want, you can pay like 125 doubloons or something for a few more passes each day if you want. 2 games per day isn't fine for me. The thing's going to be going on for a month. Then they're going to take it away for a while and then implement some sort of full bore legendary tier down the line. Yamato will be part of that, and then God knows what else, probably tier 9s and 10s from the PC version. So if it's implemented well, that should be pretty cool. It's kind of adding an extra tier that people have been wanting. But so far, this has been kind of interesting. There, just testing the long range, and you can see those guns are actually pretty accurate. Tanaka's the accuracy build, and that's how I have them set up for Japanese commanders. But I think the ship in general is pretty accurate. Probably played, properly, you'd be sitting there nose in long range, pretty much max range, bombing shots. Enemy targets are going to have a really hard time angling against the ship due to the caliber of the guns. I didn't notice what caliber they are, but I think they can basically overmatch any tier 7 at any angle. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. I haven't played too many games as or against the ship yet, but I don't know. That's whatever the exact parameters are, we'll discover it and we'll talk more about it as this event goes on. Anyway, it's very hard to angle the ship. Just keep that in mind. So the defensive play against the Yamato is don't be the one that is focusing on shooting. Definitely don't be broadside. I mean, if it's not hitting your citadel, it'll still be doing some pretty big damage, but you want to be avoiding the citadel shots. Here we line up the John Bart, and we were kind of relied on that auto aim feature where if you click in the left trigger, it'll kind of auto aim you roughly. Now sometimes it's wildly inaccurate, sometimes it's pretty much spot on. If you're trying to blind fire like that though, you can kind of quickly zoom in and out 2 or 3 times, and if it keeps sending you to pretty much the exact same spot, then it's probably actually lining up a shot where the ship will be, and you can kind of rely on that. I don't advocate using that auto aim. It's actually kind of ruined my aim a little bit. I'm trying to remove it from the majority of my game, but blind firing behind land masses like that, it's kind of interesting. So anyway, getting back to the ship, it's kind of like the battleship's battleship. The turret traverse is kind of shockingly slow. The first time I fired up the game with it, I'm kind of like, I position my or I auto-locked my turrets off to the side, and then I was just watching how slow they were turning. At first I'm like, that's not that slow, and then like 5-10 seconds later they really hadn't moved that much, and I'm like, okay, yeah, these are pretty slow. So it does take a while to spin around. If you can keep the guns on one side, that's great. You can see there every time we hit a citadel, it's just like a Joe Frazier left hook to the jaw. It's just not something you want to be dealing with. But getting that back gun in play, you get 2/3 of your firing power off the front. You're pretty, it seems pretty solidly armored off the front. Now, the PC players probably know better than I do. They kept mentioning in the lead up to the Yamato, I think you can hit it in the cheeks potentially, or you could on the PC version. I haven't shot at the ship too much close range, or with the intention of shooting it in certain spots, but I think on those cheek sides where it starts tapering in, that's potentially a weak spot. So experiment with aiming towards more of the front of the ship. Here we do have the enemy Yamato cruising right along. Now he's essentially broadside to us, and we're just going to keep trying to fire some shots. I think one of these salvos ended up being a little low and maybe just clipped. Yeah, it looks like that's one where we essentially missed all the shots and then had one unfavorable result when it actually hit. So that was a bit of a misplay there. I'm considering focusing over on this Tirpitz. Now these tier 7s, again, their armor's not going to hold up at all against these Yamato guns. So what the other legendary tier ships will be like defending against this ship, time will tell. But these tier 7s, if you can catch them broadside and you shoot them waterline, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be hitting catastrophic damage. Now, when you're playing the Yamato, you're probably just trying to mainly get high damage games. This one doesn't end up being too high, I suspect, for legendary tier battleship, but it's just shy of 200k. I'm sure you can get 250 without really blinking an eye. With this ship, maybe someone will get 300, and that wouldn't shock me. Probably maybe not with just 6 or 7 ships per team, but once it's fully released, some outrageous scores, but this might be possible down the line. We'll see. And if you haven't noticed by now, I do have the sound kind of turned down, so that's just how I have my video set up. But if you fire these guns, it sounds like a big, one of those huge bass drums that someone would be pounding on. So it's actually a pretty cool sounding gun. That gets me thinking, man, I wish I'd have a little bit more variety in the gun sounds in the game. I feel like most, if not all, the ships, at least of the same class, have the same sounding guns. But these are definitely a unique shell, and they definitely they give a little oomph to the shots. So if you don't have anyone that you'll annoy too badly, just turn the volume all the way up on your TV or your sound system and unleash the beast properly when you do get to play this one. So you can see there, I mean, we're pumping out the damage. I don't think this is a bad game. It's a pretty good battleship game, but it's nothing extraordinary. But we do end up, like I said, putting up some decent damage, and I think that's just mainly a function of how much damage this ship actually does and how many pens the shells will achieve. Assuming they actually hit the target. So it is a lot of fun to play. I'm kind of surprised how much I liked it. I don't know if I need to play more than 2 games per day with it, at least until, it's kind of a weird, goofy matchmaking where I didn't really enjoy the 4v4 Yamatos, but, either 6v9 or 6v6, I think those are good enough. Here I'm just holding on to the shot a little bit to get that Alabama all the way out there. I was hoping to, splash him off the map. He does put in a pretty good shot into the Yamato, though. Now, it was fairly broadside. I mean, there was a slight angle there, but I was mainly holding my firing angle open just to hit all those guns into him. So I was hoping to kill him and absorb whatever shot he was willing to put on me. I didn't really care. But, it did a fair amount of damage. So close range, only playing 2 games in the ship, one of them only against Yamatos. I mean, it's very hard to get a feel for the armor scheme. It felt to me like when I was angling properly, though, you could bounce quite a bit of shots like that where we had a fairly wide open angle against that Alabama. Or the Yamato on the other enemy team, when we were shooting at them, you saw we were able to put some pretty decent shots into them when they were broadside. here I was just planning on getting on the cap, assuming this Kagero was going off to buff his Dewey. But the alarms of the secondaries do start going off. He's, of course, trying to torp the Yamato. I should have figured that. I did play a game in the Kagero earlier and torp one of these things. It's kind of fun in its own right, but we get a shot off before he disappears and take him out, and that's going to do it for that one. So that's it for that video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. Love to hear from you. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.